Okay, moving on to x-intercepts. Earlier we just did y-intercepts. Let's solve for the x-intercepts. This is actually review. We took 2 weeks on this, last week and the week before that. So hopefully you guys remember most of it. I'm gonna go through it pretty quickly, but remember, just pause it if you need to. Okay. So remember, to find the x-intercept, it's the same thing as the roots. Zeros are solutions. There are 4 different ways to solve for it. If it is in standard form, we need to use either factoring, quadratic formula, or completing the square. If it's in vertex form, then we use the square root method. Okay, so for factoring, remember, if we're factoring, we use the x puzzle. Okay, 16x squared will go on top. On the bottom, I have negative 10x. 2 numbers that multiply to give me 16, but add to give me negative 10. I'm thinking 2 and 8, but both of them have to be negative. Okay, there is no number in front of it, so I can go ahead and use a shortcut. So now I have x minus 2 from here, and then x minus 8 from here equals 0. Okay, once I'm done factoring it and it's in factored form, I'm going to use a zero product property, meaning I'm going to set each of these equal to 0. Okay, add 2 to both sides over here, add 8 to both sides. I should get x equals 2 and x equals 8. Okay, those are my x-intercepts. Quadratic formula. To use this, we need to memorize x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, just remember your a value is 1, b value is negative 10, c value is 16. So let's go ahead and plug it in. X equals negative 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times my c is 16. Oopsies. Okay, all over 2a, so 2 times 1. Okay, simplify from left to right. So x equals positive 10 plus or minus square root of 100, negative 4 times 16. Six 64. So minus 64 all over 2. Okay, keep on simplifying inside the radical. So x equals 10 plus or minus 100 minus 64 would be 36 all over 2. Simplify one more time. 10 plus or minus the square root of 36 is 6 all over 2. I'm going to go ahead and separate both of them into 2 separate expressions to solve. Over here I have 10 plus 6 over 2. Over here I have 10 minus 6 over 2. Okay, 10 plus 6 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 divided by 2, oh, whoopsies, sorry. Sorry, guys. 10 minus 6 divided by 2 is, 10 minus 6 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. Okay, and I know I'm doing this right because I should get the same x values for each of them. They're the same equation. Okay, completing the square. That is the one where you have to move your c value over first. So let me just go ahead and write the equation again. X squared minus 10x plus 16 equals 0. Need to move the c value over. So I have x squared minus 10x equals negative 16. I'm looking for the number that completes the square. So remember, that's b over 2 squared. My b value is negative 10. Okay, that gives me negative 5. And then negative 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to go ahead and add 25 to both sides. All right. From here, I need to rewrite my trinomial as a perfect square. I know that the shortcut is just x minus 5 squared. And if you guys don't remember where that negative 5 came from, right here. Or you could have just used the x puzzle. equals negative 16 plus 25. That gives me positive 9. I want to get rid of the square. Take the square root. X minus 5 equals plus or minus 3. And I'm going through this pretty fast, but remember, just pause if you need to. I'm just going fast because this is review. All right, and then from here I need to get x alone. Add 5 to both sides. X equals positive 5 plus or minus 3. I can go ahead and separate these two. 5 plus 3, and then 5 minus 3. This gives me 8, and this gives me 2. Okay. All right, last one. The last and final method. Again, if you have an equation in vertex form, you need to solve it using the square root method. So I'm going to write this over again. I have 0 equals x minus 5 squared minus 25. Okay. I want to get this by itself, so I need to go ahead and move this 25 over. Okay, so this gives me 25 on the left side equals x minus 5 squared. I want to get rid of a square, so I need to take the square root. Okay, square root of 25 is 5. Don't forget the plus or minus. Equals x minus 5. Okay, last step, need to move the 5 over to get x by itself. This gives me x equals 5 plus or minus 5. Okay, separate these just like how we did over here. Oops. So I have 5. I did something wrong. Oh no, just kidding. 5 plus 5 and then 5 minus 5. This is a different problem than these ones. That's why I'm getting a different answer. So 5 plus 5 gives me 10, and then 5 minus 5 gives me 0. So those are my answers. So for these three, you should get the same because they're the same equation. This one's different. Okay.